Low-scoring affairs with heavy running offenses. We're so back. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I am your host, Micah McCamey, and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about preseason week 1 against the San Francisco 49ers. Talking about maybe what I think of the game, talking about other types of things like that. We're also going to be talking about other things like what the plan is for the rest of preseason, or at least what we know as it stands right now. And we're also going to be splitting up my discussion on preseason. It goes into 4 parts. First part is the coaching staff. How did they do? Then the second part is the special teams. Then we do the offense, then we do the defense, and then we're going to do player of the game. This is the structure that I will be going off of for the entirety of next season, just to warn y'all. So anyway, let's get right on into today's episode. Starting out with, before we actually get into the preseason game, we got to talk about something that we know is prominent for the rest of the preseason. We won't see Simmons, Snead, or Landry. So that means no Big Jeff, no Harold, and obviously no Snead. That was expected, though. Callahan has said that he has seen everything that he needs to from those guys, so he feels like that it is fine that he doesn't play them. So that does make sense, honestly. And Snead is still, obviously on some type of medical plan. Anyway, Callahan did not rule out the possibility of Landry and Simmons playing. As he said, it was to, quote, get the pads bouncing off, something like that. But honestly, it was nice to hear that there are going to be specific players that don't play in the preseason. It's like there are star players that don't need to play in the preseason. You know, guys like Big Jeff, guys like Snead, Landry. You know, those guys don't really need to play in the preseason. But guys that are new to the Titans or just need to get a, gel together, like the entire offense itself. Will Levis, the O-line, those guys, they really need to, gel together. So we're just making sure that is what's happening here. So I thought that was nice. Also, most likely we won't see Cheeto or D-Hop either. Maybe we see them week 1. I think that we may see D-Hop week 1. I'm still not 100% confident that we see Chidobe Awuzie in week 1. I butchered his first name. Holy cow. But anyway, those were my opinions on that. I think that overall it is a good decision by the staff. And, there's not that much else to really say about it. So let's get on to the actual game itself. So Titans walked out of there with a 17-13 victory at home. And, dude, it was weird because, I had to root against Josh Dobbs for the first time, and that is a feeling that I have not gotten used to completely just yet. But hopefully I don't have to get used to it. But anyway, let's talk about, first off, the coaching staff. This will be graded on a number scale, and I'll give you my overall grade right at the end. So coaching staff, they get an 8. Now, I had to bump it down 2 points. 1 point was for it is preseason. This is very shallow stuff. We're not going to see the full playbook or anything. We're not going to get we're not going to get today or on Saturday what we're going to get against Chicago. It's just going to be 2 different ball games right there. And also, it's also something else that I'll get into in just a few seconds. But first off, we got to give Denard Wilson, got to give him his flowers. Dude was in his bag. The defense was playing absolute lockdown on Saturday. Now, may that be an over-exaggeration? Sure. But, I just want to be excited about it. Because, he made a couple of other players look good. We'll get to one of those later. But James Williams also played really good. I told y'all he was going to make some big hits. And overall, apart from that first drive, which started out a little rough, he had some pretty good play calling. And I'm not even saying that he didn't have good play calling in that first drive. It's just defense wasn't executing. But we'll get back to that later. Callahan was also pretty good. Again, vanilla offense, whatever. The offense at least, looked like that it was coherent. It looked like it was getting into a good little flow. Malik looked pretty solid. I'll get back to that later as well. But overall, Callahan was pretty good. But here's the other point that I docked off. It was, okay, hold on. Before I say this, I need to clarify. I really liked the aggressiveness that Callahan had here to go for it, and he had the guts to go for it. Twice, actually. And he failed both of them, but the first one was understandable. You were on the goal line. It was obviously going to be a run up the middle, like, whatever. But 4th and 1 from the 49-yard line, with potentially the game getting wrapped up right there, you cannot call that out of shotgun. Like, I'm hoping that he doesn't do that during the season, but like a shotgun formation on 4th and 1 with like 2 minutes to go is just such a bad idea. Like, QB sneak it or something. Make Malik roll out to the right and make a pass. I'm not trying to be the expert here or anything. I'm just saying I just don't think it's a good idea to run that out of shotgun. But apart from that, Callahan was good. He was even great. Same thing with Denard Wilson. So that's why I gave them an 8 out of 10. It's not like that they called a bad game. It's just there was one play call that I just really did not like. And it gave me it gave me flashbacks to what it was like before. But anyway, again, overall 8 out of 10. Next up, we have the special teams or Colt Anderson. Okay, this is a 10, and this is 100% an over-exaggeration, and I do not care, especially about Colt Anderson. My gosh. First off, the Jackson 2, I guess, was pretty amazing. Kearis Jackson made some dudes look silly on a kick return, made a 65-yard return, and looked like the man that last night, or Saturday night. And Jaquan Jackson also had some pretty solid punt returns, especially that first one where he got the team out to like the 30-yard line and made it easy on the offense, just like Kearis did, except Kearis may have done it a little better. But anyway, that was great. I felt like that they maintained kickoffs pretty well. Like, I didn't see anything. Like, I saw like one potentially big play to like the 40 or something. But apart from that, they were returning it to like the 20, 25, typical type of stuff. So I was happy to see that. Overall, just a great performance by the special teams. Dude, it's only been 1 week of preseason, which I'll probably forget in like a month from now. But I already want to build Colt Anderson a statue. Like, dude, it's so much night and day. We go from Craig Aukerman, who, no offense to him, is probably a good dude. I mean, that's what you had to be to stay on Vrabel's staff, but like, was probably a good dude, but golly, he was not a good special teams coordinator, and he tore that special teams apart. He almost ended Stonehouse's career. Like, he was not good. And now we have Colt Anderson, who I have no clue if he was going to be good or not, and it looks like the special teams has been doing pretty solid so far. So overall, 10 out of 10, over-exaggeration, I do not care. Sorry about that. Got on a little bit of a rant there. Anyway, moving on to the offense, I gave these guys a 7 out of 10. And this is the lowest grade here. Whenever I say that a 7 out of 10 is the lowest grade out of all of these, I think that is something to be worth noting. But before we do that, I want to go back to the intro. This clip, low-scoring affairs with heavy running offenses, we're so back. Okay, I just want to clarify, that was a joke. Okay, I know that it's probably going to be pretty run heavy during the preseason, like, especially on those first few drives with the starters. Like, obviously, it's going to be a lot of running. It's preseason, right? So, like, I'm not saying that we're a run-heavy team. We are going to be pass-heavy whenever the year comes in. And, our culture is going to be defined by the passing game. But, I just thought that it sounded funny. But anyway, 7 out of 10. First team offensive line was probably the biggest shocker of today. Don't even get me started. NPF, where were you the past 2 years? Like, I get it. I I said a few months ago, I don't mean to brag or anything. I said a few months ago that MPF still had potential, and I thought that he still could be really good because he did show flashes in his rookie year, but then he had a little bit of a sophomore slump, and people were just completely out on him. But like, if that's the NPF that we get every single week next year, oh man, our offensive line is going to be good. Latham, obviously, there's that one rep that's been going around social media that everybody has been looking at and just being like, man, he's a mauler, whenever he just absolutely destroyed that man on the 5-yard line. But like, overall, again, up and down, but he had a pretty decent game overall. He wasn't Andre Dillard. He wasn't Jalen Duncan. He wasn't Dennis Daly. Like, that is something that we are very appreciative of overall, or at least we should be as Titans fans. Will Levis, big thing that I noticed is that he took the check down. He didn't try and make this like gigantic deep throw every single time. Like, I felt like that rookie Will Levis was just like, okay, oh man, do I have to take the check down? I'm just going to chuck it deep for the ladies. But like, he took the check down. He did the right thing, and he didn't try and force anything. He had a really nice completion to a couple of guys like Calvin Ridley. He hit that, and then Calvin Ridley went like 21 yards. After that reception, everybody was just like, okay, Calvin Ridley, you've proven enough in this game at least. But anyway, let me try and take a look here. Malik Willis was good. I mean, we know Malik is like the preseason king. Like, he shows improvement from the last year to the next year. Then he looks really good in preseason. Then we think, is this a different Malik? Then he goes into the regular season, and he plays about the same as he had been the last few years. So, like, look, I like Malik, but, like, this was, and I know that I have some interesting opinions on him outside of me just liking him as a person, but he played a good game. He had a really nice throw to Bryce Oliver. Like, dude, that was the best throw of the night. Levis, Rudolph, didn't matter. Best throw of the night by far. Which, speaking of Rudolph, he looked, I'm questionable, honestly. Like, he looked okay, but he had some weird, like, moments whenever he was trying to go deep. He would either overthrow or completely underthrow. Like, honestly, it reminded me of watching UT football. Old Joe Milton trying to sling it out there. But anyway, also Jalen Duncan looked about the same as I expected him to. Like, he's just, I don't know. He's just not that good. And he doesn't have the drive to get better, even though he looks like he would be an absolute beast. Like, I remember I told my mama, man, he looked really bad tonight. And then I remember she was just like, really? Because he looks like he would be really good. And I was just like, yeah, I agree, Mama. He looks like he would be absolutely amazing. But he just did not play well. And he has not played well whenever he's been given the opportunity. Overall, offense, 7 out of 10. Maybe if Malik was in for most of the game, I would change that grade with the second team offense. Again, Malik, overall offense, 7 out of 10. All right, here we go. Defense, I gave this a 9. This is mostly courtesy of Denard. He adds like 2 points onto this. So defense, be grateful that you have a great defensive coordinator potentially. I don't know. Again, it's time to over-exaggerate. It's preseason, This is the time where I have fun. But, like, Denard did really well calling this defense. There was a lot of really good pressure, which is what we were expecting. Not Trey Avery. We'll get to him. Denard Wilson's defense is very blitz-heavy, so if he wasn't putting on pressure, then obviously we were going to be really upset about that because it would be a complete falsehood. And also, I said that I would get back to it. Golly, what was the defensive line doing? Like, yeesh. Like, or the defense, not the defensive line. Sorry. What was going on that first defensive drive? Like, whoo, what was that? Like, I don't know what that was, but after that, we only let them score one more touchdown, and that was because Josh Dobbs put the offense on his back. But, overall, played pretty solid, but there was one thing, and there was obviously one kind of stain on this defense. And I hate to be that guy, but we got to talk about Trey Avery. dude's just not good. I was hoping that, maybe it was the Mike Vrabel system. We've seen a couple of players that have played in this preseason where it felt like that they were playing in the Nard system and felt a lot more comfortable than they did with Vrabel and Bowen. But they still just were not good. But he just still was not that great at all. I feel bad for the guy. I really do, but I don't know. He just doesn't seem like the guy that I would start over Cheeto. I would pick Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who had a really nice breakup, by the way, on a deep route. Draft analysts, in your face. I'm messing around, but it was just nice to see. But anyway, moving on, let's talk about the final thing, the player of the game, the grand man of the hour who had his magnum opus of a game. We got to talk about Chance Campbell, dude. My gosh. Where did that come from? I had barely even heard of Chance Campbell before this. He wasn't, from what I could tell, I read the Jim Wyatt reports. It didn't seem like he was getting that much buzz from practice. But, dude shined during this last game. Let me show you his stats. 8 total tackles, 5 independently, 3 assists. He had 1 sack and he had an interception. Now, granted, the interception was on a Hail Mary, but after the game that he had, he deserved that. Dude, he was all over the place, making big plays, and it was just overall really great. Shout out to the runner-up for this, Otis Reese, who is also a linebacker. He also played really well and caught my eye. And either he or Chance Campbell, I think, can make a run at Jack Gibbons' spot, because I don't think we have that much to worry about with K9. I think that he played pretty well in this game, actually, that being Kenneth Murray, whenever he was out on the field. So I really enjoyed watching that. And this performance by Chance Campbell finally gives him a chance to stand out, potentially get more opportunities in practice, potentially end up taking I think that, does the Titans fan base on Twitter, I think they call him Dr. Gibby, something like that, but it's the chance for him to take Jack Gibbons' spot. So I'm very happy to see that, because we also need somebody that's better than Jack Gibbons as our second linebacker beside Kenneth Murray. But anyway, that's today's episode. I was really excited to watch this preseason game, and overall, I would give it an 8 out of 10. Not perfect by any means, but it's still a pretty good foundation. And it's Brian Callahan's first win as a head coach, and it's a way for Brian Callahan to build a little bit of culture with a baby step. All right, anyway, socials. I have Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and for people listening over podcasting, I do have a YouTube. I promise I'll be uploading on Fridays more often. It's just that, right now, school's starting, and I kind of have my hands behind my back, or hands tied right now, so anyway, all of those are linked in the description, whether you're listening over podcast or you're watching on YouTube. But anyway, that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of your Tennessee Titans. I love y'all, and tighten up.